Hello everyone, I'm Adam. You're watching The Monster Closet, and for this very first video on the channel, I'm going to take you through some pickups that I had recently for a bunch of different horror movies, mostly on DVD. I think DVD is going to have a massive resurgence soon, and I'm absolutely all in on DVD. I grew up on VHS and DVD, but those particular DVDs that I've picked up are from a very, very specific label that I was incredibly happy to find is still being sold in some stores in the UK. So yeah, we've got 2 4Ks, 2 Blu-rays, and then about 10, 12 DVDs. So let's have a look. So just to get the 4Ks and the Blu-rays out of the way before we get to the meat of the video on the DVDs, first one we have is John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. This was in a set with The Fog, 2 for £30 in FOP in London. I actually went to see this in the cinema a couple of years ago when these particular releases came out. They re-released Prince of Darkness, The Fog. I'm not sure if they did They Live, but they have They Live on this label as well. I didn't pick that up because I couldn't find a fourth one to get the next 2 for 30 deal. And while I do love They Live, I've seen it so much, I don't see myself going back to it for a while. So I'm just happy with these 2. These are 3-disc editions. So you have the Blu-ray, the 4K, and a Blu-ray disc with extras. And there's a little bit of what they look like. They're a very nice set. I watched a little bit of The Fog this morning. The transfer is absolutely gorgeous. It looks fantastic. I've never seen it look so good, to be honest. And I'm quite interested in seeing Prince of Darkness because when I did go to see it at that cinema screening I mentioned, there was quite a significant, really noticeable, like circular bloom around a lot of the shots. I didn't know if that was just the print that was being shown at the time, whether that is the actual 4K they were showing or what they had. But I'd be really interested to see if that's in this because I think it's something you wouldn't have noticed on like VHS or possibly DVD, but in the 4K it's really going to show. So it'd be interesting to see if that comes through. I also picked up 2 Blu-rays, and these are 2 of my favourite movies of 2024. A couple of honourable mentions I would definitely say would also be Strange Darling. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. But the first one, which one should I go for? Let's go for this one. So the first one is the next one by the director of Caveat, and it is Oddity. A really unique little film. I thought this was really creepy. Near the start of the film, it has one of the only jump scares in recent memory that has genuinely made me jump. I was actually I was watching it with someone, and I noticed we went, oh, like this when it happened. So he really got me with that one when he did it. The lead actress is fantastic. She plays both in a set of twins, with the main focus being on the twin that is blind and runs an antique store that sells cursed items, but the curses are removed upon purchase, so that if anyone steals anything, they have a cursed item. So a little bit like Needful Things, but she does remove the curse at the point of sale, which is very kind of her. But it's genuinely creepy, really well shot. I've watched it 3 times now, and every single time I get sucked into it, there's just something about the atmosphere of it that's really, really interesting. So yeah, definitely recommend Oddity. And then, of course, the big hitter of 2024, Oz Perkins' Longlegs. His new one, The Monkey, looks really interesting. The trailer looks quite funny. It looks a bit Final Destination-esque, which is quite interesting. It's a complete tonal shift from Longlegs. Obviously, this is more of a police procedural sort of Silence of the Lambs-y kind of thing. Yeah, Mika Monroe. I don't think I've ever seen anything bad with her in it. Absolutely fantastic. Nicolas Cage, obviously completely off-the-wall performance, but I thought really worked. And some big surprises in it. I just loved it. Set in the 90s, which is a big part of my young era of growing up, and especially getting into horror at that time as well. So yeah, Longlegs, highly recommended. I'm very happy to have that on Blu-ray. So the next one we have has a really fun name. So this is going to be the first of the DVDs. And as I said, I think in the horror community, DVDs really having a resurgence. I think many factors involved in that. Obviously things are very expensive at the moment. DVDs are a lot cheaper. But this first one, I bought the DVD. I watched it the other night. I really enjoyed the movie. And the quality of it on the DVD was absolutely fine. I don't really feel any need to go out and buy the Blu-ray, even though I like it. So I'm very happy with the DVD. And I think 2025, for me at least, is going to be year of the DVDs rather than the 4Ks and stuff. And that is Beazle. So Beazle is a hybrid of shot film and found footage. It's quite an interesting hybrid. People are always there and they have a purpose for the filming. You get to see some of the live action and some of the actual footage itself. centered around a house that has Beazle in it. Obviously, no point, you can't spoil it. I mean, she's right there on the front cover. But each of the stories are interconnected to the family and everything. So there's things going through it. I really enjoyed the first two of the three. The third one I wasn't so keen on, but I really did enjoy the first two. Especially the very first part of the anthology, the first part of the film feels very much like Creep. The one where he gets people in to film, not the one in the London Underground, which was also called Creep. But yeah, it felt very much like that, and I really, really, really enjoyed this. Absolutely stunning cover there. I love that. Even though you don't really see her much in the film, yeah, I really enjoyed that one. The next one is a little bit of a weird one. I'm sure anyone who collects DVDs knows about the old famous multi-packs. I don't normally go for these all that often. This is from 101 Films. They vary wildly for me. Some of the stuff with theirs I love, some of it I just can't stand. They seem to not have any particular amount of quality control as to some of the things they put out. But in here you have Zombie Horde, Fallen Soldiers, and then you have the reason I bought this, which is here, Night of the Living Dead Reanimation 3D. And I was like, oh, I bet that's just the 2D transfer, but it actually said in here, this is the real 3D prequel, and it comes with 2 sets of 3D glasses. So it is genuinely the actual 3D version. My wife and I watched, just skip through 5-10 minutes of it just to see what it was like. So it's the blue and red anaglyph glasses one. It's not the side-by-side 3D or anything like that. But it actually was quite good. Someone walked past with a spade that went out like this, and it did seem to come out of the screen a bit. So we're going to try this on the projector, because I think if you have a really big peripheral vision for this and then use the glasses, I think it'll really, really help. But I'm very excited for this. It's Jeffrey Combs, from Reanimator and from Beyond, all that kind of stuff. He normally does good stuff. I like him as an actor. And yeah, I'm just really interested to it. And obviously another part of the Night of the Living Dead franchise, which I really want to get everything of if I can. I think I'm just missing the one with Sid Haig in it at this point, but we'll see if we can get that. The other two, Fallen Soldiers, I watched a little bit of. It's got one of those covers where you can just tell it was all photoshopped. But on the back, there is a guy. He's got sort of like a. I'm assuming it looks like neoprene, but it's supposed to be metal, like this full-on metal mask with his mouth welded shut. It does look quite cool. So I'll give it a go, see what happens. You never know. I've bought sets like this before expecting nothing, and then you open it and you find a gem that you love. And then the last one is Zombie Horde, which kind of looks a little bit like a sci-fi original movie, but I love sci-fi original movies, so quite excited for that one. Should be pretty cool. But we'll wait and see. But especially Night of the Living Dead Reanimation 3D, and for the £10 I paid for this, if that, yeah, I'm more than happy with that. So this is, now speaking of Beazle being an anthology, this is another anthology. Short form horror is kind of my favourite horror out of everything. But Southbound, absolutely amazing anthology film. I say it's the only anthology that I've seen that I can think of where each story bleeds into the next. You don't even realise sometimes that you're moving to a completely different story. Things just happen, and then that section will happen, but then it will bleed into the next one. Yeah, you could put this DVD just on a loop constantly, and it would always play, and you'd never notice it was skipping. It's a fantastic movie. If you're a fan of The Void, you probably quite enjoy this. It has a very Void feel to it. Yeah, highly recommended. Southbound. And again, I think this was £6 or something like that, compared to the Blu-rays and that, which are up to £20. So yeah, well worth the money. So then we have this one. So Vincent Price, I found out recently while watching a documentary about him, was part of this sort of Saturday morning cartoon running show that had sort of a horror theme to it, like a horror host like you'd have for the midnight on Halloween, but for kids. And I thought that was what this was, which is Monster Squad, but it's not. What this turned out to be actually is a 13-episode TV series featuring Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and their sort of human counterpart fighting crime, made by the same people that made the 1960s Batman series. This was made in 1976, so quite a while later, but yeah, it's got that campy, Batman-y kind of feel to it. I watched the first episode, and the main villain was bee-themed, so just bee puns everywhere. They even forget how to spell something at one point, so they bring in the spelling bee. So it's that kind of child's humour. It is for kids, but it's kitschy and campy, and I quite enjoyed what I've seen so far. So I'm not upset that it wasn't what I thought it was. But yeah, The Monster Squad. And then we get into sort of the main reason that I was doing this in the first place. You've probably seen this in the thumbnail. So when I was getting into horror, probably around early 2000s, a friend and I would get in the car every Saturday morning and we'd drive over to Canterbury and we would go to HMV, which was the place you got your sort of DVDs and stuff at the time. And we would go immediately to the World Cinema section and we would look for a very, very specific label, and that label was Tartan Asia Extreme. So they put out all of the amazing like J-horror films that you're used to, like The Ring, The Grudge, all of those sort of things. And when I went into this particular shop in London, they had all they sold was DVDs in this section. There was no Blu-rays or anything. And in the Japanese section, they had loads of Tartan Asia Extreme. And I was so happy. I hadn't seen them for ages. I didn't even know you could still get them. And these were sealed, brand new. I don't know if it's a new old stock or whether they're still producing them. But I was just over the moon to find these because like, oh my God, Tartan Asia Extreme, I can finally get them all again. Because I still have some up in the loft, which I'm going to dig out for another video. And I'd love to do a documentary or a long video going through all of the different Tartan Asia Extreme releases because they're all fantastic. But yeah, so I picked up what I could at the time, which was The Eye. So I think this is a story of someone that gets an eye transplant and then starts seeing through the eyes of the person or the killer or something that they got the eye from initially. Also remade in America with possibly Jessica Biel, I think. I need to check that. But yeah, really good film. I'm excited to watch this. There is a second one, which they didn't have, but they did have the third one, The Eye Infinity, which I'd never seen. I didn't even know there was a third one. And the interesting thing on the back, it says, The Eye Infinity shares much of the kinetic thrills of the first two episodes, but the directors are clearly having fun with the proceedings too and have delivered a film that will shock and surprise you. So I don't know if this is going to lean more into sort of horror comedy, possibly. I'm not sure. I'm really interested to see where this goes. But yeah, just that brilliant Tartan Asia Extreme. If you see that on the top of any DVD, just buy it. It's going to be amazing. We've got a couple more. So we've got one I love the cover of, which is Premonition. It looks like there's a guy that sort of finds newspaper notes, and that allows him to see the future. And he's racing against time to save his daughter, I think. I haven't seen these yet, so I'm just going on sort of the trailer. But wonderful cover with a guy that looks like he's been sort of plastered in paper mache out of newspaper, which is really cool. From the creators of the Ring trilogy, The Grudge, and Dark Water. Now, Dark Water is one I definitely want to get, unless it's upstairs, because I definitely had that at one point. The other thing is, it's got down at the bottom, you probably won't be able to see this, but it says the J-Horror Collection. So I don't know if this is a later release, because I looked on the back and I couldn't find a year at all. But no, there it is, 2006. So this should still be in quite a high peak of the J-Horror revival, but I don't know, they did a J-Horror collection saying Premonition is one of 6 new horror films produced by Takahashi Ichise under the J-Horror banner. A series of films that will prove Japanese cinema has lost none of its ability to unsettle, unnerve, and terrify audiences. So kind of Tartan Asia Extreme is a sub-label of Tartan Cinema, and then I guess the J-Horror Collection is yet another sub-one. I'd never seen that before, and I've never seen this movie before, so I'm very happy to pick that up, and I'll have to look more for the J-Horror Collection. I also picked up from Tartan Asia Extreme 3 Extremes 2. I didn't know there was a sequel. First one obviously very famous for the short Dumplings, which I think then got made into its own full-length feature afterwards. But 3 Extremes, featuring Memories, The Wheel, and Going Home. So I really enjoyed the first one. I've watched the trailer for this off this disc, and it looks really, really cool. So I'm very interested to see this. And 122 minutes. Each one of those is going to be a decently long short, as stupid as that sounds. But yeah, 3 Extremes 2. Maybe there's going to be another one that goes as big as Dumplings on here. Who knows? But yeah, I'll have a look at that. And then finally, the last pickup, again, Tartan Asia Extreme, Nowhere to Hide. Whereas this looks more like a police chasing criminals movie. So Tartan Asia Extreme didn't just do horror, they did also sort of anything gang related, Yakuza, stuff like that. They put out the Infernal Affairs trilogy, I think, all came out on Tartan Asia Extreme. So, and this, it says, for fans of Hardboiled. So I imagine there's going to be lots of guns, lots of running. On the back here, there's a lot of shots of people fighting in the rain. Very John Woo-esque. So it says the Evening Standard, astonishing, no holds or blows barred action. So yeah, they did also do some action stuff as well as the horror. And on the same label, they also did one, I think it was called 2046, which is almost like a sci-fi time travel one, or was it a love story? I can't quite remember. But yeah, if you see anything from Tartan Asia Extreme, just buy it, honestly. It's going to be fantastic no matter what it is. And yeah, later down the line, I'm going to do a whole video on as many of these as I can get and sort of review each one. And just shout my love for this particular sort of label, because as I was getting into horror, especially J-horror, this came out at the perfect time for me, and I got exposed to so many movies through this. So I was really, really happy to have this back on DVD. And yeah, so that's all of them. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully there's loads more to come. I'm probably going to do a lot more long-form content going on, but I just wanted to do something to get going and get something out there for the moment. So yeah, we'll do some more pickups videos once I go hunting again. And yeah, thank you very much.